This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Dr. Psych Mom Show. Today, I'm going to talk about what I call intimacy porn, and you'll find out what that means when I start to talk about it. But before that, please do subscribe. Tomorrow's episode is going to be on something that a lot of guys say about their wives, which is that as soon as there's something off their plate, they replace it. So they're always saying they're overwhelmed, but then when they stop being overwhelmed, then they find something else to overwhelm them, such as getting a pet or starting a home renovation or some other sort of project, such that they can never actually work on the relationship because they never have time. And so what is the origin of acting like this, and how to think about it and deal with it? That's going to be tomorrow's subscriber episode, but here you got one more free one on intimacy porn. So what do I mean by intimacy porn? Well, if you've been listening to me, you have known that I've gotten onto TikTok. So I'm looking at TikTok a lot because clients always tell me about TikTok. And so I like to see what's around, right? And what's influencing my people. And now I'm on TikTok too. So what I do see is this thing which I'm calling intimacy porn, which is so interesting to me. So it's like for example, there's like a guy who is like, showing how hot his wife is. So I understand wife has an OnlyFans. I'm sure they both do. And he's trying to market, right? He's trying to market his wife being hot and they make some money. Cool. This is getting more and more acceptable now, which is fine. I mean, make money however you want. I don't care. That sounds like a good business if everybody's on board. But I mean, the point here is so they can't do actual porn on TikTok, right? I mean, I'm can barely say sex on it without getting, my videos unable to be uploaded, even though I'm literally trying to educate, but whatever. And so what do? They do something really interesting. And it's like the guy follows his wife around with a camera. This is like, thousands of accounts. This isn't like one dude. Follow the wife around with a camera. Of course, she knows what's happening, but the conceit is that it's candid and that she doesn't know what's going on. And she's just like wearing like a big T-shirt with like, you can see that she's not wearing anything, she's wearing her panties or whatever underneath. And so it's just like she's just hanging out in this like cute but casual way. And then he'll like come over and like either pick up the shirt in some way, or he'll make some kind of joke and she'll laugh and she'll like relax or whatever it is. It's kind of like this idea of this woman who's always kind of responsive and receptive to the guy coming over and hanging out and talking and making some kind of like sexual overture, laughs at his jokes. She's making eye contact with at least the phone, that he's holding up. And she's just around to be intimate and welcoming of it at all times. Of course, there's no children around in these. And she's just like the perfect woman. And so many guys are congratulating themselves intrinsically, subconsciously for thinking that these women are the perfect women because they don't look like models. They are just, quote, average, which they're not really. They're pretty, but you know how guys think. Your guys listening to this, it's like you got like a hot woman, you put glasses on her, and every guy's like, man, I go for the smart chicks. Like, I'm not like those douchebags, and what they mean is like the same hot woman, except like she doesn't have, as much makeup on or something. But anyway, so it's these cute women, and they are just the classic fantasy for the married man. It's a domesticity fantasy of a woman who's always responsive, and then in some of them, for the guys that really, really want to like feel good about themselves, the woman is actually like clever or has a retort or has her own joke to counter the guy's joke or something. Like he says some kind of joke about women to her, and instead of laughing, she shoots one back about men. Well, this would appeal to the men who, the same men. I like the smart chicks, the smart hot chicks who always want to have sex. Anyway, so what this is it's really intimacy porn. And this is the male version of it. And I don't think there was this as much before social media, because there was either the magazines, which were obviously porn, or they were just regular, stuff that everybody consumed that wasn't really targeted toward men. There were novels and movies and stuff like that, but that everybody could see and read the same things. These things, especially if you're on social media a lot, they become curated to your preferences because of because the contents of my videos. I think it thinks I'm a 40-year-old man, so it's giving me all of these like hot women and all of this stuff that men would like to see, which then I click on because I want to understand the men, and so it gives me more and more in the algorithm. So I'm seeing kind of what it's like to be a dude on social media, and it is more it's harder for the marriage than even the porn, for Christ's sake. And you know what I think of the porn. The porn it fluffs you up artificially. I just talked about this. I don't have to talk about this again. I just did one on this. 2 on porn. I'll probably do it again in a couple months. But for right now, go back and listen to the Porn Use in Marriage podcast. But this intimacy porn, as I'm calling it, is no better. In fact, it may even be worse because the guy doesn't even think he's looking at porn. But what he's looking at is a woman who's always responsive. It's like Leave It to Beaver, with how like the mom defers to the dad, except she's also wearing some cute little lingerie. How could you tear yourself away from that if you're a lonely man? And you start to think that there's all these women that actually act like this, and you forget that they're monetizing this account, and the women are trying to act in a way that men would love as much as a hooker would, right? And the guy's on board because this is their business. So, it's even more pernicious than porn because you don't think you're looking at porn, so you don't have your guard up. And so guys think that there's these women that are just hanging out, stress-free, just always down for like a funny sexual joke. And, that they are the ones who are losing out because their wives, wear clothes around the house and seem kind of irritated if the guy like comes up and grabs them because, they're in the middle of getting the kids out to school or what have you. And so, of course, what's good for the goose is good for the gander. So what's the female equivalent of this? Well, that was on social media since its inception, really. That's all the guys acting super romantic in these little videos. And what women really monetize is women following the couple and the couple's story and getting little, interviews with the couple and like what do the couple, think about each other? Where are they going? Are they going to have a baby? Like following the whole course of the couple's romantic trajectory. That more appeals to women. There's no OnlyFans of these people to be monetized, but the entire account is monetized because the more followers you have, the more ads you get, etc. So what do women like to look at? These men that say these things that are basically porn for women. So the guy comes over and he wakes up the woman so lovingly and he's like, there's the most beautiful girl in the world. I mean, this is real. I'm not making this up. And he comes over and he's like, there's the most beautiful girl in the world. She looks even more beautiful without makeup. And she's like, oh, stop it. And then he's like, oh no, here's the love of my life. And then she's giggling. And then she's like, I love you. And they kiss and it like cuts out, because now one is to imagine that they embark on some sort of splendiferous, otherworldly lovemaking. So that would be the female equivalent. Or not even. You don't even have to think they're having sex. If you're a woman who doesn't like sex, you're like, man, that's the only guy that isn't up her pants, isn't into her pants. Instead, he's just saying these wonderful romantic things, which of course, if you use your brain, it's a show. But it's real hard to use your brain and to think about this as a business and as these people's livelihood when you're watching it and when you're watching reel after reel of it. It has the same effect on the brain as porn. It creates a counterpoint, a comparison point to your own life that makes your life seem more upsetting and dull and loveless in comparison, right? And it's not real. So this stuff isn't real. So it's interesting to think about the differences too, because what women want are the words of affirmation, sometimes gifts. That's like all over, especially for younger women. It's like showing like that the guy gives them money to get their nails done and their hair done, and that he gets them, a great car and whatever. And with older women, it's more like he helps around the house and we're a team and he's a partner, and basically like, look how he does this funny TikTok dance because I tell him to, basically, and he's such a good teammate. So it varies, but whenever people are giving you a window into their relationship on social media, particularly if they have, millions of followers and this is their job, you got to think about what they're selling. And increasingly, and I think this will be a wonderful dissertation for somebody, that I were in academia. Just kidding, I don't want to be in academia again. On intimacy porn and how it's skyrocketed with the general disconnection felt in society. Like people do not have as close relationships. Rates of sex in marriages and overall are going down. Fewer people are having sex overall. Fewer people, I would imagine, perceive themselves to be really embedded in a social network. I mean, this is kind of a known thing. We're getting more and more disconnected, just alone in our rooms with our phones and everything. And within marriages, there's quite a bit of lack of intimacy that I see, and that also is observed in general by other people. And so you don't get it in your marriage, but then you're getting it online. But which came first, the chicken or the egg? Because who's going to want to engage with their, pretty annoying spouse that never says cute little recordable things? If you could just kind of almost get yourself into this fake world, almost virtual reality, where you're imagining that you're married to somebody else. It's interesting because there was this book years ago that I thought was so funny, like probably 15 years ago. It's called Porn for Women, and it was you get it off of Amazon, and it's this little book where it shows like a man vacuuming, and like the caption, he's like, there are all these hot men, right, like half naked, and so one of them's like vacuuming, and he's like, I like to do these things before I'm asked, or like things like that, or like, I always like to keep chocolate in the house, like things that are just funny and that would appeal to women. But the proliferation of social media in years subsequent to that it made this into a reality, and like a video reality. So like you actually have the porn for women, which is the intimacy porn of like an attractive man doing everything that a woman would ever want. And then the corollary, which is, this sweet, like, loving, relaxed, delighted woman who is just, lounging around in her cute little clothes and that just wants to cuddle and look at you and laugh, And so you don't have your guard up because you don't think that it's something insidious. Whereas women would know, okay, I'm watching a romantic movie. I guess he's not going to act like a romantic movie protagonist, But if you're just looking at social media and the way that the phone is held, it looks like it's casual. It looks like people are just recording their daily life, and that this is just how their life goes. And that is much more insidious because you think that you are missing out on something that other people have, whereas that you're not living in a romantic movie. But you think, why would my life not be like what these other real, quote, real people's lives look like? So it's interesting to think about. And even if you're not somebody that really looks at TikTok, if you're a guy who doesn't look at social media and doesn't look at porn, I mean, you are a rare breed. But if you don't look at social media, but you do look at porn, but the type of porn that you look at is the married couples or the amateur stuff or anything that isn't, porn starlets, in extremely porn, the stereotypical scenarios. So it's more like the married people, then you may be getting a hint of the intimacy porn as well. And it may be a large component of what you're attracted to. The idea that there are couples where there is this free and easy, open, delighted, constantly responsive dialogue and communication. And, that's not real. That is for the screen. And a lot of of people forget this. The more amateur-y and quote real things look, the more insidious they are in terms of burrowing into your brain and telling you that you're missing out on something that everybody else has, or that like Joe Average has. So like in these situations and the TikToks with the guys, you're thinking of this dude as just like kind of a guy like you. He has his dumb jokes and like he just wants to kind of grope her, and he's just following her around, and the phone's going blump, 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 you know, like it's moving, it's not good camera work. So you think there's like an average Joe that just happens to have this like, you know, really cute, sweet, loving wife who's always down to chat and look at him and be tickled, or like whatever, like intimate sort of thing that he wants. And of course this isn't real. The percent of women who are willing to kind of create a business like this that is based on them like having these little scenes that they have to act out, you know, and monetize, and then have on their and everybody in their lives knows that they have a social media account based on them like showing glimpses of their ass. You know, this is not the usual woman, and honestly, like, you may not want to be married to that woman. There are not like this isn't real life. What this is the very, very small subset of women that will make this their life, you know, and the women that will do that, you know, are not who you married. And that's probably for a reason, because when you went on the first date, if your wife, who's a lawyer, let's say, or a doctor or a teacher or a nurse had said to you, or a stay-at-home mom had said to you, you know what, I really want to do most in my life, what my career goals are to have like a super big following of dudes, you know, who pay to pretend that they're married to me, and we give them various levels of semi to really pornographic glimpses of me, and that's how we make our money, you would have been horrified, you know? So let's be real. And for the ones of you that aren't horrified, you should probably leave, you know, your marriage. If that is your goal, is to get a woman who wants to make an OnlyFans account with you, then you are probably, you know, not super motivated to work on your current marriage. But for the 99% of guys listening to this who would be pretty fucking weirded out if that was the direction that their wife's career now took, then, you know, you gotta understand that these women that you may be conceiving of as just super open and chillaxed are really, you know, business women who are using their body to make money. And when the camera is off, they are not acting like this with the guy. They're like, how many views did we get? What do you think? What do you think we should do? Do you think that one worked? Do you think that we should have more little glimpses of my ass? You know, and like, that is not sexy to think about, you know, let's be real. So anyway, I hope that this was an interesting thought experiment for you. Like, are you viewing whatever media you consume with a critical and objective eye, or are you letting it become a comparison point that isn't real because it isn't something that's happening in the real world that you're not getting? It's not something happening in the real world at all. It's the same as watching a romantic movie. It's just curated in a way that more insidiously makes you think that it's reality. So discuss with your spouse if you're both like really into TikToks, and I'm not saying these people don't love each other, by the way. They could certainly love each other if they're doing these couple TikToks and this is their business. But their discussions about this business are probably not a lot different from like me and my husband figuring out how to market Best Life Behavioral Health, you know? And that's not the stuff of people being like, wow, like that is so arousing. Like, you know, if you've ever been in business with your spouse, you know, that it's a business. It's not like, you know, then you just start having sex in the middle of that discussion, right? That's not the sort of discussion that is, you know, an arousing discussion. And you got to really think about the other side of whether it's the amateur porn couples or the TikTok couples or the OnlyFans couples or whatever it is that you consume. They are looking at their QuickBooks and she's putting a smile on for the camera, and it is not what their day-to-day lives probably look a lot more like yours than you realize. All right, I'll talk to y'all soon. Have a great day.